All right, we are live. Just checking to make sure I got volume and everything looking good. And everything seems to be okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome to DC Fine Art. Today we're going to be working on part 3 of the Pelikan in color pencil. Now, if you're new to this channel, I have been doing live streams where I just kind of do like a certain medium and just kind of chat with you guys. If you guys have any questions on anything, feel free to ask. And if you're just kind of learning color pencil and how to use them, or, just kind of interested in them, then this is a good channel to just kind of see things go at a slower pace. And you can see me work on it live. So that is a good thing. Also, if you are on my Patreon, one of my Patreons, then I usually give you updates on stuff. Now, I have to apologize again to my Patreons. I know a lot of things have been going really, really slow on there, and I haven't been making as many videos as what I should. And I know that we're behind on the little bird or little duck, and he is still sitting on my easel. I was going to make an announcement on certain things, on maybe something that might be changing, and that's just for basically to help me out too, because I know with summertime that's come up, and it probably happens to you guys too, where you have a lot of yard sales, you're having yard sales and going out to things, you had Mother's Day, you have like just so many different things, planning, your gardens or doing summer activities. And whenever you do those, then it really can put you behind, especially like for me, me having to be here basically on my own, and work the house while my husband's at work. And basically I have a lot to do, and it's definitely put me behind. I have been organizing my whole entire house and trying to get my craft room set up where I work on crafts and also sew, and I do a lot of other things too. So it's been really putting me behind. So the changes, I know I wanted to put a video out there, but it's mainly, I keep on thinking I love doing these live streams, and it's really not that difficult as far as like doing the live stream and you guys kind of following along with me. But then again, I really like to try and put out some artwork really, really quick to try and sell it, like actually put in more time than just once a week. So that's where I've been brainstorming a lot about, is whether or not, I mean, I don't know how many of you guys actually follow along with this, or if you're just kind of watching me and learning from what I do and how I layer things and how I make things, as far as like feathers or anything like that. If you guys are learning that way, and I mean, I definitely need to have some feedback. Like, I definitely need to have some comments on here, just kind of helping me out here too on what will help you guys learn. Because I'm actually thinking about like doing a medium with you guys, live streaming it, and on the next live stream that we have, like I'll already be ahead of it, or maybe starting on something different, depending on what I'm working on, so that way I'm able to kind of get artwork done a little bit more quicker, because I can work on my own behalf. And then you guys can see different sections of different things and kind of learn in those different mediums just on how I do things. If that will be okay with you guys on learning and seeing those things, then I can do it that way. As far as Patreons, I was almost thinking about doing lives with you guys too, but it won't be like a live art chat. I mean, it can be to where you can ask questions when you want if you're on the live. If not, you can rewatch it later. But basically, I wouldn't even talk really unless you guys have any questions. Well, I guess I would talk because I can't help it to talk. So maybe doing a live stream and then just doing like a little bit of the duckling. And that way you guys can see me live painting. And then I guess do that until he's done. I mean, I really would like to, I don't know. I just want to work on something to where the voiceovers and stuff like that for Patreon. I know I got close to 100 videos on Patreon for you guys. But I'm really wanting to make it a little bit easier on me and not having to go back and like re-edit 4 to 5 hours worth of video and then trying to do a voiceover over, you know, over the video, that maybe working live and working on something might be able to help you guys out too. So I don't know, maybe just some little feedback. I know I've been kind of stressing because I haven't been doing as much on Patreon for you guys, and that's where I've been trying to figure out what I could do to try and speed things up to where I can work on my own pace and yet still give you guys the content that you need to be able to learn, because that's the key things. I want you guys to learn things and get stuff out of this channel, whether or not you're on my YouTube subscribers or you're on my Patreon, either one. I definitely want you guys to take something with you whenever you go to work on your artwork and to help you. As far as Patreon goes, maybe it might be, I'm still thinking alive, but like, I don't know. We'll just see. I'll have to see about that. But I was thinking more toward alive on it, and then just doing what I'm doing on YouTube so far. So anyways, once I get that figured out and get all the kinks out, I will let you guys know. So let's go ahead and turn this around, because I know you guys are wanting to see this pelican and to get started. So let's go ahead and flip this around. All right, here is our pelican that we worked on last week, and my puppy dog's in here. He's actually he's sleeping on the floor right now, and I turned off the AC unit, so he may end up getting hot and then wanting to leave. So if you hear him knocking on the door, I'm gonna have to get up and let him out so that way he can go downstairs where it's a little bit more cooler. But anyways, we worked on the feet and we worked on the head of this pelican. He's really, really cute. I know that my camera doesn't like to pick up all the detail or all the coloration that I used as good as like seeing it with your own eyes. And I do apologize for that. I wish it would be different, but maybe it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But we're going to be working on the chest of the pelican. As you can see, we are going to be working with some darker colors, darker browns. We even got a lot of shadowing and darks like right in here in his little bottom half. But then we also do have some little light areas of kind of like this gray or white kind of feathers, kind of frosting the side of his little wings here. So we're going to have to do that also. So I kind of put away a lot of my colors. I kept a lot of my colors out. These are the Caran d'Ache Luminance is what I got out, besides the Derwent Chinese, the Chinese white from the Derwent drawing. Now this one here is an amazing pencil. You can order these open stock. So if you're just wanting this one color, which I highly recommend that you have if you're working with color pencils, definitely get the Derwent Drawing Chinese White. Get a couple of them, get a few of them. These things are amazing, and definitely you'll need them for your color pencil work. It is a soft core lead, or not lead, a soft core pencil. So it definitely, and it's a lot thicker of a core too. So it's a lot thicker than the normal color pencil, as you can see. But you can really add white to something, like a little bit of a highlight or anything like that, using the Derwent Chinese White. Even whenever you're using like a polychromos, which is harder, or even the Caran d'Ache Luminance, you may be able to try and add some white for a highlight. It doesn't really show up, or doesn't want to show up because of how much color pencil you have on the paper. You can use the Derwent Chinese White, try that out, and usually this one here will show up. And it's just a really nice pencil to have. So I've got my purple violet in here, just in case I want to throw a little bit of a purple hue in this, since I like to throw around that violet. I've also kept out my raw umber for maybe some of the highlights here and there. We're using some gray tones, so I kept out the French gray 30%. Not for sure if I'm going to use this darker one, but you may end up, it's a French gray. It's just regular French gray, it's a darker one. But definitely I kept out the Castle Earth and the Dark Flesh. Sepia is the other one. These are the browns that I have. But also, I think there's one brown that I'm missing that I definitely like to have. It's a natural brown, and it is actually out of the Derwent Lightfast colors. Not the Caran d'Ache Luminance. Hold on, where did it go? Oh, I guess I still had these over here. Yeah, natural brown. This is the Derwent Lightfast. And then we got the Caran d'Ache Luminance. Here are some of these other colors. I don't think I want to add these in here. I'm going to put those back. They're from last time. We may end up adding some of this. You never know. French gray, 10%. That's a nice light one. I wonder if it's lighter than the other one. No, not really. And then dark indigo. You can use this for like the super, super lighter colors. Or not lighter colors, the super, super darker areas, like the really dark shadows. Use this with your black to add with it to make it even more darker. It gives the illusion of more depth to the dark that you're putting in there, and not to be just plain old flat. Then this one here is the brown, I think it's brown ochre. Yeah, it's brown ochre. Now this one here I can use for the brown of the feathers, and you've seen those highlights that are kind of in there. Well, this one here could be a good highlight to add to some of your browns. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I definitely want to work a little bit darker at first, and then we can add in some of our lighter tones, or at least a mid-tone. We don't want to work too dark, actually. So the natural brown would probably be a good start. Just kind of layering these in here. Now, of course, I didn't sharpen this pencil. The Derwent Lightfast are a softer core pencil, and they melt really easily and blend really easily if you use odorless mineral spirits. So I don't really have to worry too much about going in circles or anything like that, but I am going to try and go in the direction of where these feathers go. So try my best to go same direction. Now I'm going to add a little bit of a darker color. I think this is Castle Earth. Add a little bit more darkness to this area. If I need to come back with my lighter colors and just kind of overlap some of these darker areas, I can definitely do that. I'm adding a little bit of black just to kind of darken down some of the brown in this area a little bit more. I can always come back after I blend with my odorless mineral spirits and add the dark back into it if I want to. And I'm going back to the natural brown. You're probably thinking, what about those lighter colors? That's going to come into play after I get the dark brown kind of set in. We'll come back through and add those lighter colors and highlight this. But for now, I'm just kind of going in the same direction that I see in the reference photo with the browns. You're probably thinking, okay, well, whenever you blend this out, isn't it just gonna all kind of puddle together? It is. It just depends on how much you blend it out. Like if you want to leave some of the streaks in there, just kind of give you a little bit of an idea where your little pelican feathers are going, then you can still see the direction of it. And then you just highlight the ones that you want to stand out. And with what color too, because this on the side is going to be more of a silver to white kind of like a frosted color through here for a highlight, and these in here are going to be more the brown ochre. So you're going to get two different tones here. But underneath these frosted colors of feathers, you can see that it's dark. You got that brown kind of in there, so. These feathers are very tiny. This area here is going to be a whole lot darker. Well, looks like our cat Lola is at the door too. She can't come in here. She likes to take up art lessons herself. And when she takes up art lessons, she makes a mess all over the carpet and makes cat prints all over it. So she is not, oh, and she also makes footprints all over your soft pastel works too. So she is not allowed in the art room. And she just kind of pawed at the door, and my dog just looked like, Whiskey was like, what's going on? I think one of my kids are coming up here to see what's going on with Whiskey, because he didn't come back downstairs. But he's getting kind of warm, and I know he's going to get hot. He probably needs to go back down. This area through here is going to be super, super dark. So I wouldn't worry too much about like creating that like the little feathers or anything like that. I mean, I wouldn't really worry too much. We're going to have to make that darker. What we could do is, for some of these areas where you see some of those lighter feathers, you can just go ahead and just stick some of this lighter color in there first. That way, whenever you blend it out, you can still kind of see that area that needs to be a little bit lighter in color. And also, you can come back in and you can add your darks, like your black or your indigo in there, and just kind of throw in some of these darker shades. That way you can tell whenever you blend it out which areas are supposed to be in the shadows. And since it's so dark, I wouldn't really worry too much about which direction anything is, because that is really dark. Maybe in here you might be able to see a couple little feathers, but it won't be much. And then you got some dark right in here, kind of cascading up. And then the same thing here. If you're wanting to make like little details, those are toward the end. So once you get this blended out, you can come back through and add the little bitty fur marks, like the little bitty hairs, any of the final details, and especially you can use your polychromos too to do those. But for now, we're just kind of getting that base layer. I love using the Derwent Light Fast colors because they blend like butter. So it won't take much and these will blend. I'm not pushing down really hard neither. I don't want to burnish into the paper, because I definitely want to add more layers to this. I'm adding some of my darker shades in. This here I'm just using some black, but I will have to come back through and probably add some of that indigo just to kind of give it a little bit of variation. I'm going to come up right along the edge of his beak with some of this darker black just to kind of give it a little bit more of a shadow. I definitely want that to be broken apart between there. Okay, now we can take some of that indigo. Where is it? That's sepia. Indigo, dark indigo. And we can kind of throw some of this in just in some of these places to kind of separate some of these feathers. I'm looking for some of the areas that maybe I did not fill completely in, like any separations where you can see the blue paper kind of shining through, and I can see the direction of the feathers. So just kind of get in between some of those. I'm not trying to add any kind of like single lines in here because I don't want it to be too stiff, too hard looking as far as like doing single line fur or feathers to make it look like a hard texture. If you make it look a little bit softer, I like that look. Oh, I'm going to add a whole bunch more of the indigo in here just to kind of darken that up a whole lot more. Okay, looks like Whiskey wants to go out, so I'm going to have to let him out real quick. Sorry about that, you guys. All right, there you go. Go on. All right. I knew he couldn't stand here for much longer. It's going to drive him nuts. Dark flesh. Okay. We can add a little bit of sepia in there. I like throwing a lot of colors in. Just always have been that way. And a lot of people, like, whenever I do this and I add a lot of colors and I just put them all in where I feel like they need to go, like I just kind of throw them in. And then once I get done and I go to blend, it all just falls together so nicely. Said I'm still trying to follow the same lines. That I can see in the direction of where the little feathers are going. Any spots that I kind of missed, whenever I blend it with odorless mineral spirits, it should be able to kind of melt together, especially using that Derwent Light Vest color. It should be able to melt together and fill in any areas that might have a little bit of the paper showing. So I'm not too worried about it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and blend this out. This is just his chest area and the tail. He doesn't have the rest of his tail in there. It is a little bit of a lighter color, or it's got some light tans and looks like a little bit of gray tones in there. So we're just going to leave that out and we're just working on this. But you could definitely see how I put these in. You can see all the lines. You can see which direction the little feathers go. So I'm going to take some odorless mineral spirits. I'm going to dry it off. Or at least wipe it down to where I'm not putting too much on there. Now, whenever I blend with odorless mineral spirits, I like to still kind of go in the same direction in which the feathers go. That way I still have that kind of directional, that's still got that directional feel. I may have a little bit too much odorless mineral spirits on there. Right here has little okay. Now, not pushing very hard at all, but I am blending in the same direction. Where the feathers are going. Now, if I was working on my second layer, like doing another layer of color pencil and then blending it out with odorless mineral spirits, I would be using less odorless mineral spirits each layer. That way, if you end up adding too much odorless mineral spirits, like kind of like the same as what I'm doing right here, I'm dipping my brush and then I'm going back and wiping it down, then adding, you know, using it, and then I'm going back again, dipping it into my odorless. I don't want to do that on my second layer because if I do too much, it will remove that layer and basically eat your way down to your first layer. And if you're working layer upon layer, it may end up eating a hole into your color pencils, and then there's no way to fill in that hole. Now, I have layered that much before, and I was using the, what is it called? What kind of paper is this? I was using the sanded paper, Lux Archival sanded paper when I did that, and I had a ton of layers on there. I mean, a ton. And whenever I did, I used too much odorless mineral spirits, and it ate through like 10 or 12 layers of color pencil, which left a big old crater in my painting or in my drawing. And there's no way to fill in that crater. I mean, it is basically, that was like really upsetting. So yeah, as you go with your layers, use less odorless mineral spirits. Even if you have to let your brush, let's just say when I get done with this, I'm leaving my brush to just kind of sit there while I'm working a whole nother layer, then I want to go ahead and blend out. I would just pick that brush up and not even dip it and just use that brush. Even if it's been sitting there for 30 minutes, I would pick up the brush and try and use it because it still has that odorless mineral spirits on it, and it will still blend your colors. It just won't be using as much, and it won't eat through your eat through your pencils. See, as you can see with those darker colors and see how I'm going, you can still see the direction of the feathers. And that's what I want, because that way I can kind of see which feathers I want to highlight and get the look of having it go in the direction that it needs to go. I'm not blending in circles. I'm just kind of going up and down, like going up. I'm not going up and down. I'm kind of going down, then bringing it back up, and then going down again. So I'm lifting it off of the paper. So I'm not actually rubbing back and forth. I'm going and then picking my brush back up and then going again. So like that, lift up. So I'm basically going in one direction with my brush to blend. So that way I'm not just like rubbing it in. Kind of blend here around his beak. I don't really want to blend out that lighter area just yet. I'm blending out these darker areas first. I'll blend out the lighter color areas in just a second. I'll do that last. And as you can see, we got a nice fluffy pelican. Now let's go ahead and blend out some of these lighter tones. Looks pretty good. Now if there's anything that you see that maybe needs to be blended out, you can kind of do that real quick. Just any areas. But so far, I like the way it looks. I pretty much got it all blended out, as much as I want. All right. And see how that all falls together. You got your natural brown that you can see in there. You also got some of your darker areas, and then you got these lighter little feathers right in this little area here, like you see in the reference photo. So you definitely got those colors. Now, if you're looking at it and you're like, well, I wanted a little bit darker brown, you can always go back in and darken up any areas that you're wanting. You're also gonna add in your highlights in there and make this a whole lot lighter. Plus, we need to make that frosting on the side. So before we can do any of that, we have to let this dry. So before we add in another layer. So while this is drying, we're gonna go ahead and work on his little wings. So in his wings, he's got a lot of more gray tones in there. He does have some brown shades like going on, but mostly grays, some dark grays, the browns more in the top, maybe a little bit in here. So we can go ahead and add those in. Now over on this side, since it's like kind of like in a shadow, you can always put in more of your really darks. Like you can use your indigo on this and your black to make those really dark. And then you can add either, if you want to go with more of a violet color, like the gray violet, to add those highlights in, like those frosted tips, or you could end up using a blue, like a cool tone, to add in those frosted tips of his feathers. So it'll be totally up to you on that, which colors you're wanting to go with. Let's go ahead and start with, we could do the darker one first. Let me put this lid on this odorless mineral spirits before any accidents happen. Also, if you could leave a like on this channel, it definitely helps it grow. So I would appreciate any little likes or comments or saying hi. That would definitely, definitely make my day, because I like to hear from you guys. Okay. This one here is my dark indigo. And so we just kind of want to do the same thing. That we did on the other side, except we want to add a little bit less of the dark indigo, and we want to draw these kind of like these bigger lines in here. Except for this one. Let's stage this one out. This one here is supposed to be a bigger one. And maybe a smaller one. It's like this area here is a little dark. Okay. I think that one there is a little bit. Okay. So now I got some of this indigo drawn in, and then I want to go on top of it with like a little bit, like I want a darker tone in there. Let's try this one at first. This one here is the French gray, 30%. Just kind of add a little bit of a darker tone. If I need to go a little bit darker, I can pick up that French gray. This is French gray, 30%. We may have to go darker. We may have to sharpen that more. I need that bad. And then you have to come back in and just kind of, I still need to add that indigo. Now on these feathers, I would just get close to the reference photos you can. I wouldn't get, don't worry about being exactly perfect. That's not where we're going for here. Don't want it exactly. Close is good. Let me get that indigo again. I want to add a little bit more, a darker tone in here. Okay. Definitely got what I like out of that. But let's see what we look like. We're going to add a little bit more of this violet tone in here. See if we can't. Add a little bit to it. If we need to, we can add. We'll just see. But violet doesn't work out very well. We're not really caring for it. We may end up adding some bluish tone, maybe cool tone might work a little better. Yeah, I want it to stand out a little bit more than that. Here, this one here is that's a silver gray. What is it doing in there? I don't want that one. Light cobalt blue. Let's try that one. Ooh, I like that one. This one's a whole lot better. So yeah, the cobalt blue is definitely putting the right touch in there. Yeah, it's up to you on that. I mean, I didn't use odorless mineral spirits on this. Just kind of putting it where I see it. You can go back through and you can add odorless mineral spirits to it, but it is totally, like I said, up to you. And the only place that I would be doing it would probably be in some of this darker area where I put the indigo in, just to kind of get some of that gritty, grainy kind of look out. And then you can work on it a little bit more. So that's what I'm gonna do, is do that. If you don't want to do it, you could always take like a colorless blender and use that, or you could burnish, like layer enough and then burnish. Now, if it's a really small area that I'm working on, like you seen me do up there on around his eye and his beak, then most likely I'm just going to add enough color and then burnish. Like, I'm not even going to blend with odorless mineral spirits when it gets to be that small of an area. And basically, I'm just going over the darker areas just to kind of smooth those areas out where I have a little bit of that gritty grainy. Kind of adds a little bit of a shadow to it. I like that. And if I need to come back through and add some little sharper points to the ends of these feathers, then I could definitely do that and come back through. But for now, that is good. Let's see if I can't add a highlight to his beak. Just to kind of give it. There, that looks pretty good. And like I said, if I need to come back through and darken anything or lighten anything, I can definitely do that on the second layer. Did I get some? No. Got a little piece of my white on there. And this is drying out really, really quick. So that is getting close to where I can work on it. But we're going to go ahead and skip on over and do this other wing. Actually, I do believe there's a little bit of his wing actually showing up right there. So, where's my... I think you'd be able to see it. It's so small. Okay. Let's go ahead and work on his other wing. Looks to be pretty good. Let's take some of our natural brown. May have sharpened this too sharp. And if I did that, most likely it might just break on me. This is a little bit softer of a core. See, in this area here, we're going to have a little bit of shade of brown. We're going to have a really dark color. Just trying to make the same kind of shapes. As I see in these wings. At least as close as I can get. Now we're going to come back through with our darker, probably take that indigo again, if I can find it. Is that it? No, that's sepia. Where did my indigo go? Couldn't have went too far. My goodness, I'm losing pencils. There it is. Go ahead and get that one sharpened, and then we'll use our indigo. Whoa, blurred up on me. It's kind of funny. Kind of looks like, I don't know, like his one little wing got electrocuted or something. Adding some darks in there. Now these are some tiny little areas in through here. And then they just kind of gradually get a little bigger. Okay, now let's go ahead and add in some of those. Like I said, I wanted to add in that gray. We're going to do the same thing with this one. If I could find the gray that I used. Here it is. I was like, where did it go? This is the French gray 30%. And just filling in some of these areas. Just kind of filling in some of those little areas there. Oh, it's looking good. Thank you. Aw. Hopefully you guys can see okay. Your volume is really low. Is the mic close or covered up? It is right here, and it's got the little powder-proof thingy on it. Let me take that off, see if it helps. Oh my goodness, I don't know how to take it off. Sorry for your ears. Does that help? Does that make it a little bit better? I can always turn up the volume, I think. I say that, but then I don't know. I don't know what to do. It's as high as it goes. And it's green. A little. Well, maybe, I hate to be rude, you could try turning up your volume and seeing if that might be it. Maybe. This sounds horrible, doesn't it? Why don't you try turning up your volume? It's like, okay. Rude. Try not to be rude. Let's try it and see. Okay, so I'm filling in those little feathers in the areas where the blue is with my 30% French gray. And you know, I was probably talking really, really low too. I mean, I do have a habit of having that really low voice. Maybe I could start talking up, talking out loud, maybe talking a little louder. I don't know. I mumble whenever I talk to, I feel like I'm talking to myself. Probably am. That's a bad sign. Maybe that's the reason why. All right, where's my blue? So we'll take this blue and then we'll go in and put this in. This is definitely going to make it stand out a whole lot more. Okay, now we'll end up blending out some of these areas too, just so that way some of that gritty graininess. Wow, having trouble talking. I think I have trouble talking all the time. Get some of that to go away. So we're gonna soften it out by just kind of hitting some of those darker areas where we see the gritty graininess. And I'll also make some of those darker shadows that we put in there, or those darker colors, they'll end up popping. Now, if you end up getting it on your lighter colors that you just stuck in and you're like, oh my gosh, it was looking good, and now I just used odorless mineral spirits and just kind of wiped it down and it just kind of got on there and made it look dull, I wouldn't really worry too much about it. You're trying to get this gritty graininess out, and once that's done, you can always go on top of it once it's dry with the same colors and just kind of re-add it back in. So don't worry, it's not all lost. Just may have to re-add back some of it. But that's what I'm looking for, is just any areas that I can see that gritty, grainy look. Most likely it's going to be on your darker areas, not as much as your lighter areas. It just always shows up with the darker areas a whole lot more. Okay, so there's his wing. And I'll use my little brush here to take that off, any kind of pencil shavings. That way I'm not rubbing it and smearing it, because you definitely don't want it smeared. Now I will be adding in a whole lot more, because right now he looks like he's got his little wing out. Yeah, need to add some more in there of the highlights, extend out the wing a little bit more, because these are supposed to be a little bit longer, but I'm definitely going to do that with more on my lighter colors and kind of branch them out just a little bit more. I do see some areas in here that kind of needed to be blended a little bit more. There we go. That's better. You want to go ahead and get me a drink? All right. So now we're going to go ahead and work on these feathers for his body a little bit more. But we also got to add in the bottom section of the little tail feathers here. Let's go ahead and do that. That way we are working with a complete bird here. So I'm going to take and I'm going to use my, let's see here, we got some darker colors in there. This is definitely a lighter color. Where's that gray I was using? This is the French gray 30%. Yes. Let's go ahead and add some of this in here. We got these little pokey little triangle feathers kind of poking down in here. So we're going to add them in. Maybe just a half of one there. Okay. So it looks pretty good. And then I'm going to take the French gray, just the regular French gray. We can always add in a little bit of a shadow to the right hand side, only the right hand side of the feather. And then to make a little bit of a highlight, I would come in with your French gray 10%. That's really a lighter color. And just kind of stick a little bit of a highlight in there. Okay. So now we got these little jaggedy points. And now we add on to the next ones. It's a little bit darker. We really don't have to blend that out if we don't want to, but we can blend out a little bit more of that brown though. Looks like I didn't get the edges very good, but we'll worry about that later. There is a little bit, I just now noticed, there's a little bit of like some of these gray little pokey feathers just kind of sticking in there. So I'm just going to come in and just kind of add a couple little of those triangles in there. There. There's one there, maybe one in there. Just kind of stick some in. Don't want to add too much. There. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the brown feathers. It just kind of extends from this. They're actually brownish reddish colors, to be honest. So we could stick a little bit of a reddish tone in there, like a burnt, maybe a little bit of a burnt ochre. Do I have a darker one? I don't want to go too dark. This is a burnt sienna. Let me see. Natural russet. I think that would be two reddish colors. Let's give this one a try. This is a burnt ochre. And I'm just kind of shading in and around some of these other feathers in the background. I'm going to come in with, I don't really want to add this one yet, but we may end up adding it. Let's see here. Do we have a lighter color? I have some of that. Yeah, let me use some of my ochre. I think it's ochre, brown ochre, yeah. Okay, I'm going to take some of my browns too, because I definitely want to make sure these have a little bit of a division here. A little bit of a shadowing kind of going on. Actually, I don't want to go too far with it. Where is my perfection eraser? I'm going to kind of take a little bit of this off. Just kind of adding some of my darker browns in here. And then just layering. I probably will have to go in and just kind of add a little bit of a highlight to some of these. That way you can kind of see where they're at. You could also take and add some black in here just to kind of darken some of these areas up. I'm going to go ahead and blend some of this out just very lightly with whatever I have left on my brush. I'm not dipping it. I used it not that long ago, so it should have plenty. And I'm just kind of getting any kind of gritty grainy or just kind of shadowing some of those areas. Okay. So that looks good. Pretty happy with that. So we got those tail feathers in there. So now we can go ahead and add some more highlights. Let's see here. What colors did we have up here? So now we can come through and add those highlights to it. We can either go through with our light blue, or probably want to do the light blue. I mean, we could do some of the light grays. I really want to do the blue. Let's stick with the blue. I really like that color. If we need to add any kind of highlight to it, I would probably come back with the Derwent Chinese White and add some of the highlight. I gotta see exactly how far. Looks like it goes past. See up here. Make sure you're following in the direction of where these feathers would be going. That is a big key to doing this. So I'm making sure that I'm following in the same direction. We added quite a bit of these little blues in there. So now I want to come back through and I want to add some of my golden tones. We added a little bit of a frosting. Sorry if the train is a little bit annoying. Sorry about that. I'm apologizing for the train. All right, so let me go ahead and sharpen this pencil up so we can add some more highlights to his chest area. This one here, I know I'm running low of it. Hopefully I got another one of this, but this is the brown ochre is what we're going to be using. And we're just kind of doing little hits here and there. It doesn't have to be everywhere, but we can just, as long as we're going the same direction as we need to make a double mark or a double little highlight, we can, because some of these areas are kind of thicker. So you can see those. I wonder if you can see them very good. Now we'll probably end up going through and just kind of adding maybe some of these darks back in just to make them a little see in this area they got little clumps and clusters in here, so I will kind of throw those in. Some of this area is supposed to be really dark, so we will have to come back through and just kind of add some of our darks back in. Okay, and then down here he had a little bit of some lighter areas. I'll have to go a little bit lighter than that. I don't know if we can take some of this. Let's see what this is. This is like raw umber, 10%. Let me see if it's a little bit brighter or not. It's probably not the bright that I'm wanting. That'll be fine, I guess. Let me go over the top of it with some of the brown ochre. Lighten it up a little bit more. And then this area is really dark. Okay. And some of these lines that I'm doing is not just straight lines. I'm actually adding like little, I'm kind of clustering them up together in some areas to where it's not just all straight lines. There are some straight lines, but there's not like a whole bunch of them. Unless I'm doing up here where it needs to be a little bit more straight line, feather kind of look. But down here, I'm making it a little bit more softer by adding in some clumps in there. Let me add some white in this. We'll probably come back through and add some white to this just so that way these feathers kind of stand out a little bit more. Definitely will have to do that. But let me go through and get some of my darker browns. This is sepia. That's always darker. Let me get my sharpener. Can't believe we're going to have this pelican done. And I might end up going back to this pelican and adding a little bit more to it. I may end up adding, like, I was wanting to add some either water or fish to it, kind of swirling around. We'll just see. But definitely want to add to this a little bit more, make it more unique. Okay. I don't want to do too much because I definitely want to make some of this area a little bit darker. Okay. Eliminate that clump. Okay, So the darker areas, oops, I just clicked on something. I don't want to do like I did last time. I ended up clicking on my mouse. Let me put this away. Last time I clicked on it and totally took it off a screen. It was bad. I was like, oh my God. We ended up, I'm just lucky that I do believe the volume wasn't lost. I thought it was. It ended up not being lost. There's a darker area in here too, so let me make sure to get that. Maybe in and around this little area of his leg. And there is, oh, there is a little bit here. Let me go ahead and add that in. I almost skipped out on that little thing back there. Go ahead and do my grays just a little bit. Maybe a little bit of blue. Okay. And then this area in here definitely needs to be a whole lot darker. Put some little feather there. You can barely see it though. Okay, so let's go ahead and I do believe there's a little bit of these darker or like gray feathers kind of shining back here too. I'll stick some in. Probably wouldn't worry too much about blending those out, but he's got a little bit in there. Just want to make sure that all my darks are in. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then you got some really dark up here. I want to make sure I put that back in where it needs to be. And this is just kind of random. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and blend this out. Hopefully I got enough on my brush already just to kind of soften some of these darker areas that I stuck in. If I need to add a little bit more odorless mineral spirits, then I will end up wiping it off really, really good. Before applying it, because I don't want to blend out and totally eat away at everything that I just done. Now I am kind of scrubbing just a little bit, and that's only because I don't have that much on my brush. I may need to add just a little bit more. Like I said, definitely need to wipe and scrub your brush really, really good on your paper towel before coming over here. If you end up seeing it being a little bit too wet or a little bit wet, where you can actually see it on there, just don't scrub so hard. Just maybe hit and miss some of these little areas on where you need it blended. Like, just don't go crazy with it. Whiskey, you're not one to come in here. You're gonna get too hot, baby. My little dog. Okay, hold on. He just knocks at the door until you let him in. Hold on. You want to come in? It's hot in here, baby. Whiskey. I know. You gonna be good? It's hot. He's like over here panting, so he's not gonna like it. You wanna go? Whiskey? Do I feel AC coming from this? That is so weird. I do feel AC coming from there. Yeah, our vent, I guess whenever the AC people were here, they looked up in there and they said that the thing was not even connected to this room. But for some reason, and they were looking up there like, yeah, there's absolutely no tube that's running to the AC vent in here. They must have skipped over it. And now I'm sitting here and I literally feel the AC coming out of the vent. So maybe they were looking at something different. Here, I told you it was too hot in here, baby. Go on. Go on. Nope, go all the way out. All right. Sorry about that. I knew it wasn't going to take that long for him to realize that this was not the place he wanted to be. Not for now. Now, I do have like an AC unit in here that I could turn on and it'd be nice and cool. So, but I turn it off for the live stream so that way it's not too noisy and you guys can't hear me. So that's the reason why it's off right now. Now I'm going to come in here and just kind of add, let's get that off. I'm going to add some little marks to here, some little feathers, and just kind of add some back in. Like I said, this one here is supposed to be longer. Looks pretty good. Oops. Let me take a brown. There we go. So now I'm going to add a little bit more to this other side. And as I go down further, it gets longer. Okay. Now, what else I'm going to do is I'm going to come through and I'm going to add some of the white, just to kind of give it a little bit more of a highlight through there and just kind of brighten up some of these areas. I don't want to stick them too much. I am going to stick it in, sticking these whites or at least highlights in quite a few areas, but you don't want to put them exactly everywhere because you can end up putting too much. Just any place that I'm wanting to kind of and see, I sharpened it really sharp and then it ended up breaking on me. That's just because of how soft the core is on this. I'm just going over some of the blue. Okay. Okay, and let's come through on this other side. I'm just gonna add I'm adding a little bit of a highlight in and around the edges here because a little bit of sunlight more toward his back. That's why his head's glowing right around it. Now I'm glowing right around him, so I'm adding just a slight glow. There we go. So I really like the way he looks. He looks so good. Loving him. I do want to add a little bit of a, like a, I want to say a golden kind of color. I know I had that, what did we use? This brown ochre, yeah. But I want a little bit of a, let's see here, what's this, raw sienna? Yeah, I want more of a raw sienna, just a little bit more of a pop in this area here. And maybe in some of these other areas have a little bit of it too, like right in there, maybe. There's little hits and misses of some bright. And I'm going to put them in. Let me sharpen this. I think we might end up getting finished with this just a tad bit early, aren't we? I mean, you could literally spend a lot of time just kind of adding in little by little if you want to. And you could even take some reddish color. Let me take some. Now I'm getting a little bit happy here. That's about normal. Let's add some little bit of this reddish tone, which is I think the russet, or what is it? Yeah, natural russet. Ooh, I like that. Just adding some of this nice kind of warmth. And just kind of popping in some of this russet, probably in a lot of places here. I'm adding a little bit more of a warmth. Oops. All right, let me take some of this natural brown, soften it out. Yeah, I really like the way that looks. If I want to toss in a couple more of highlights in there, I can. If I need to soften any of this darker area out, because I see there's some that's still not blending in. You just want to soften it. You can come through and just kind of soften some of these edges, like on top. That way it softens the feathers out. That way you're not having too many harsh lines. And it's kind of like painting. It's like, you know, you got a lot of these lines just kind of coming in there, but if you soften the top of those lines, like I like to do, it just makes it look a little bit more softer instead of having those harsh lines. Like it just looks like it's kind of fading, and then it kind of fades as it's coming out of the darker area. It's kind of hard to describe on that. I don't know why. If some of these little lines are too bright or you want to kind of knock them down, you can also do that by blending. Like in here. So I want to soften that out just a little bit. You can do that. Keeps on fading in and out. It's like, stop it. Won't stop. I don't know. Maybe, hopefully you guys can see that really well. But like any of these areas, if you wanted to kind of soften those out, you can do that too. Like any of the lighter areas. Just have to be really easy and not use a lot of odorless mineral spirits on your brush. Otherwise, you may not get the same result. There. Now I don't want to blend the outside part where it's highlighted because I want to keep that. But if you need to soften some of the area as you move up toward the highlight, then you can do that. So yeah. All right, so here is my bird, or at least my pelican. I don't know if I can zoom in anymore. Let me try, because I always like trying to zoom in on some of the areas that we just worked on without a shadow, hopefully. Let's look. Because lighting in here always is not the greatest. I mean, it definitely looks like it's got some darker areas in here. They stand out a little bit more than what I see. But you can always come in and kind of soften some of these out. Let me see here. Or add a little bit more in there. And basically all you do is just, I'm going to add just a little bit more of the darker tone. You can see it so much better on the computer than with your own eyes. I guess if you ever need to double check yourself on the finest things, I guess either you can look in the little computer there. Now on the tiny little area in this here, I may end up using a colorless blender because that is super, super tiny and I definitely want to blend it out. So let me go in here. I'm going to grab my, well, I don't want that one. That one's brand new. I want one that's already sharpened. Yeah, this one will work. I'm going to come over here and use my Caran d'Ache Luminance blender. And this is just a wax blender. Basically all this is a colorless blender, is the, like the Caran d'Ache here, it's the same thing that's in the core of the pencils right here. So it's the same thing, except that this here doesn't have any pigment in it or color in it. So just picture it as them not adding any color to these, and that's what you're using to blend. And basically what that's going to do is keep it to where I can keep some crisp lines here in and around his beak. Okay. Now on any of these areas here, if you're wanting to come back through and add some highlights, you can. It's really hard to see those tail feathers. I don't know. Pretty much I am really happy with the way he looks. He looks really, really cute. I'm going to go ahead and lift this up. Now, I never say I'm completely done with something. I usually just wait on it. I mean, I'm done with this for our live stream, but I usually wait and look at my picture for a little while, kind of let it set in my eyes every time I come into a room or something like that until I can make sure that nothing is absolutely bothering me. And then that way, if I need to make some changes on down the road, I could definitely do that. And it would be super, super easy just to make the changes. But if you just pack it up and put it away, then you never know. You might end up looking at it later on and think, oh my gosh, I made a mistake on something, or I could adjust something. And now I just went ahead and put a fixative over it, final fixative over it, and now really can't do that. So definitely let it sit for a little bit and just kind of see if there's anything that kind of pops out at you, and then make the changes. I mean, I may end up throwing a little bit more highlight in there. Where'd my pencil go? Some of these little areas where I added some of that red to it, or that russet kind of color, looks like I needed maybe a couple little highlights. Yeah, you definitely work on this, just kind of going back and forth and just add layers to it until you get it just the way you want it. So I'm going to go ahead and end it at that. Like I said, if any of you guys have any questions, um, even if we're not on the live stream, and if you guys have any questions, please leave those below, and I'll be glad to help you with anything that you guys need. As far as the live streams go, they may be a little bit different. Maybe I might end up doing something because I haven't really had any comments or questions or I mean, I've had comments, but I mean like questions as far as like following along kind of questions, like if there was anybody following along. So next week, maybe a little bit different. Maybe I might end up starting something as far as like an art chat, live stream art chat. And then you guys can just kind of see what I'm doing and we can just work on different mediums. And if you guys have any questions, you guys are more than welcome to ask questions. So we'll just see what happens. And I may end up leaving I'll have to leave I might end up making a video for you guys, just kind of, maybe once I get it summed up, just kind of letting you guys know how it's going to go. I definitely am wanting to be able to create a lot more artwork and spend a lot of more time on it. And that's just the thing. And the longer you spend on your artwork, the better it's going to be. If you end up doing, and I see a lot of artists out there that are just like doing a whole art piece in like 30 minutes flat, or not really 30, I mean, yeah, you can do 30 minutes flat, but let's just say we're doing a live stream and we're going to complete one whole artwork within 2 hours. Well, just think if you added in 8 hours of artwork to that, or maybe even more. What if you added in like 3 or 4 weeks working on that one? It would be 10 times better than what it is in a matter of 2 hours. And that's just the thing, is that I'm working on these pieces and I'm putting in, well, this is part 3. So I put in 6 hours into this drawing right here. This is just 6 hours. What if I put in longer time span and start working on this and adding more to it? What if I put in another, 16 hours into this piece? How much better would this piece be compared to what it is now if I put in the time? It's going to be a whole lot better. And that's what I want to do. I don't really want to, and I hate to say it, but it's just been on my mind, I want to be able to create an art piece that I can spend a lot of time on and enjoy doing it, but then also not just a lot of time, but when it's on my own time, I end up finding more time than what I would if it's not on my own time, especially having to record it. So if I were to just, kick out the artwork, I'm really hoping to kind of push more toward trying to get my artwork to sell because it's starting to pile up. I'm getting a lot of it and I'm not able to spend time on that part. So I definitely want to spend a little bit more time on my sales and then putting more time into one piece than having to put in like just a little bit of time, 6 hours on a piece, and then basically selling just a minimum piece. And it just kind of kills my soul because it kind of stops me in my tracks and it makes me feel like I can't, like I'm not pushing myself to go further. I'm stopping at a certain points, certain hours each week. So who knows? I mean, this is an art chat, so I just figured I'd chat with you guys and just kind of give your thoughts on that. If maybe I just kind of do every live stream, just kind of what I'm doing, what I'm working on at the time. And if I'm working on, let's just say, the Pelican, maybe I might be adding stuff to it. we'll do a live stream, and then you guys can watch me for 2 hours as I'm doing whatever it is I'm doing at that point, whether or not it's adding something to this pelican, or maybe I'm doing an art piece and I created this big old masterpiece or whatever, and I'm adding stuff to it. I mean, you never know. Then I could just go ahead and do a 2 hour, and you guys would be able to see me as I'm working on that piece. And I think as far as Patreon goes, maybe that might free up some time, but I'd really like to do a live stream on Patreon. I think it would help out with doing that instead of the voiceovers that take a really long time to do. And as long as I'm not, you know, chatting your ears off, maybe you just might see me work in my own pace, and you might end up seeing Whiskey bugging me. I mean, you never know. Whiskey's my little puppy dog. So maybe we might do like a live stream on Patreon where you can actually see me, maybe just doing something art related, what I'm doing. Maybe it might, because I know I got a few lessons on there. We'll just see. We'll just see how it goes, you know? It might be a lot more entertaining, should I say. Hopefully you guys can learn too, but I got almost, like I said, almost 100 videos over there on my Patreon. So trying to help you guys learn should be able to help. So anyways, I guess I'm going to go ahead and stop the rambling, and I guess we're going to go ahead and sum it up. So if you could, just please leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, so that way you can kind of see what I'm up to, and maybe you might be able to pull some information from me too, by asking questions or watching me work live on a certain medium. Maybe it might be the medium that you just might need some help in, so who knows. So like I said, click the like, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment, definitely helps the channel grow. Leave a question if you have a question, and I guess I'll see you guys on the next live stream. Bye everyone. I lost my mouse. Let's try this again. Bye everybody.